It's time for Talkin Tauntauns, your Star Wars source at AIPTcomics.com.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Talkin Tauntauns. I am JJ Travers, and I'm joined today, as always, by Connor Christensen and Jim Lahane. Let me start off by saying a very happy new year to all of you and to my two co-hosts. Guys, how did you ring in the new year this year? Connor, let's start with you.
Asleep by 11:45. It was wonderful. This year, I think a lot of people realized, because they had to realize, that New Year's Eve is super overrated, and the best way to spend it is actually on your couch at home doing nothing. So I made myself a pizza from scratch, by the way. Shout out to my parents for getting me a pizza stone for Christmas. Made pizza, and then I made cookies, and then I crawled into bed and I watched Bob's Burgers until I fell asleep, and it was best New Year's I've had in years. Loved it.
Was that the deep dish that you shared a photo of?
No, that was not, but that deep dish was legitimately one of the best things I've ever made.
I've never been a fan of deep dish. Were you using a cast iron for that?
I sure was. And a little bit of cornmeal in the dough to give it more of that fluffiness. We can get into it, guys. Let me tell you something. I have turned into, I don't want to say Papa John because he's a terrible person, but I don't know the name of the owner.
Let's go with
Domino's.
Shaq. Everybody likes Shaq, and he's the new Papa John guy. You've turned into Shaq.
I've turned into Shaq. All that I've had since Christmas, we're recording on January 3rd. Since Christmas, I'm pretty sure I've had 8 pizzas. All of them homemade. It's bad. I have a problem.
40 pizzas in 30 days.
This is the reckoning that Papa John spoke of. It's a personal reckoning only for me. But yeah, so I did nothing, and it was wonderful. And now we're not in 2021. I'm viewing 2021 the same way that the Allied powers viewed D-Day. In the days following D-Day. It wasn't, they didn't go to June 7th or June 8th. It was D-Day +1 +2. So we're not in 2021. We're in 2020 +1. And next year will be 2020 +2. And then eventually we'll get back to our usual numbering system. But for now, same year.
No, that is the year that shall not be named.
It's going to be like the 13th floor on elevators where it's just 2018, 2019, 2021, 2022.
Which was always a weird thing. Like, you don't have a 13th floor?
Well, we do. It's just only a crawl space, and it's for superstitious reasons.
Okay. Well, I stayed home, and with our normal tradition of we did game night with the kid, played National Parks Monopoly, of which the rules of Monopoly, I have not played Monopoly in probably 10 years. And we're reading the rules, and apparently the rules are not to get rich. It is to thoroughly crush your opponents, according to the rule book itself. And so I was mortified when my wife gave up. She's like, "You win." I'm like, "No, that's not how the game works. The game says you must be bankrupt. You must be broken at the end of this game." She's like, "No, you win." I
and
give
then
up.
in debt to me for the rest of your life. Welcome to capitalism, everyone.
I know, and I'm still pissed that she just she's like, "No, you win. I can't pay you." I'm like, "No, you must be broken. You must give me all of your properties."
I need to break your spirit through financial domination. This is America, god damn it.
I had a very different New Year's than you, Jim. There was no trying to crush my spouse.
You're not married yet. Just give it 10 years.
You'll get there.
We made this awesome cheese plate. It was huge. I think I might have shared a picture with you guys.
You did.
Yeah, and then she made this buffalo cauliflower cheese dip, which was just incredible. We had Impossible Burgers with this great sriracha aioli. We had cranberry margaritas, and then chocolate chip cake to finish it off.
I'm surprised that you ate buffalo. I thought you buffalo's very yummy though.
Oh, well, it's just the oh, he's trying to be funny. I can see his smirk. There
I
it
was
is.
I was waiting. I'm like, he's gonna answer this sincerely.
Almost got me, Jim. Almost.
2 years later, and he's caught on.
But no, yeah, it was great. We just ate and drank a ton of food. We watched Solo. We played some Harry Potter trivia in between the various things that we were watching, and just got kind of loaded. You know, it was a nice little New Year's. I was asleep by 12:30. I promised her I would make it to midnight, and after that, everything was off the table.
One of our annual traditions is also Veronica celebrating the ball drop in New York. Keep in mind, in Utah, we are 2 hours off of New York. And so she will celebrate at 10 p.m. and go to bed. And then I will wake her up at midnight. She will kind of give a half-hearted, yay, and then go back to sleep.
I love it.
Now, the real question for you guys, did either of you start Return of the Jedi at exactly 9:56 and 54 seconds p.m., so that the Death Star exploded right when the clock struck midnight for 2021?
No.
I did not, sir.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I didn't either. That would be weird.
and the amount of people on Reddit who like they post their videos of like, look what I timed, like just for the New Year's to start, and some of them were kind of cool, but it was just like that's a lot of effort. And then like also, do you just watch that movie in silence until you're like, oh, it's coming. I don't get it.
I think you just watch it normally and then look at your watch around midnight. But yeah, I didn't do that either.
Sounds like it.
There's far too much good food in me and alcohol at that point. But yeah, we should talk about some Star Wars stuff. That's why we're here today, right?
Ooh, my Star Wars for the new year, my project yesterday.
Oh, he finished
he finished
building my Lego Boba Fett, and it's a lot smaller than I was expecting. It's basically, like, for those who clearly can't see it, it's basically if you were to build a Boba Fett helmet for your fist, like the head is about the size of your fist, and you put a helmet over it. But it is like solid Legos. It's like you're building this thing up from the inside of his skull outwards.
It looks great.
It's not hollow, right?
No, it's definitely not. It is solid Legos all the way through. And his little rangefinder sticks up, or it rotates down.
Oh, I didn't know it rotated. I like that.
No, it's actually really cool. It's
it looks great.
I was never a big fan of these, just like looking at them on the pictures, but like actually getting it in my hands, I'm like, that's actually really cool.
Now do I see that it actually on the teal helmet there, it has a little white spot for the dent?
Yeah, it's a gray
That's
discoloration of the green, for where his
what a cool little detail.
His dent is.
Speaking of Legos, I'm going to make this quick. I got mad beef because I got that gift card for Christmas, and the online Lego store has been sold out of everything like for 2 weeks now. And I have a gift card I want to use, can't get anything. They only have like 2 sets available right now. I'm very upset. And they even released new sets on New Year's Day, and they're already gone.
Yeah, I mean, it's Christmas, man. Just wait a month or 2, you'll be fine.
I don't care about these kids, okay? Get me my Legos. These kids can wait.
All right. There's our very giving and compassionate co-host.
There's Connor coming at the kids again.
All right. So we're going to get into a couple of pieces of news here. Right off the bat, there's some very sad news that we have to share today. Tom Kane, one of Star Wars' pretty famous voice actors, unfortunately, he suffered a stroke 2 months ago, and his family, his daughter shared a Facebook post about it, that his left side is where he had the stroke. And he's had damage to the speech center of his brain, which is obviously awful for anyone, but especially awful for a voice actor. So right now he can't effectively communicate verbally, nor read or spell. He's still very competent and very much himself, but he can only get a few words out right now. So the one hopeful thing with stroke survivors is that in many cases you regain the function that you lose during a stroke with therapy and support. And it sounds like he's got a good support system and people helping him, but there's no guarantee, unfortunately, that he will regain that stuff. So our condolences to him and his family. We hope he recovers soon and fully. You'll recognize him from the Clone Wars series. He did a lot of characters, including Yoda. He did the voice of Admiral Akbar in The Last Jedi. So he's definitely had some, really important contributions to the franchise over the years.
Yeah, he not only Yoda, he was also the narrator at the beginning of the episode. He was Wolf Yularen in Clone Wars, and if you pull up his Wikipedia page, his contributions go back to 1996 when he was Lebo on the Shadows of the Empire video game, and so he is like a stalwart in Star Wars, and it's really sad. I feel for him and his family as my daughter is a stroke survivor, and so I definitely know the impacts that stroke can take on your family. So I feel for his family.
Yeah, and he's when I saw the news, the thing that was most surprising to me is he's young, at least for somebody to have a stroke. He's 58. He's not the typical age that you really worry about that. So it's heartbreaking. Like you guys mentioned, his Star Wars resume is staggering. Dare I say, the most prolific voice actor in Star Wars. The guy has been in so much stuff. So it really sucks, and it's a very sad story. And yeah, I hope he recovers soon.
And strokes can strike at any age, Connor.
Yeah, now I'm scared.
All right. So a couple of other pieces of news. Some more that are a little more uplifting. Patty Jenkins has completed her Rogue Squadron story treatment. So she is, a co-writer here. So it's not just her story, but she's obviously also the director. So it's supposed to start filming next year, but she recently provided an update. The as of yet unrevealed co-writer and her have made significant progress. She said, and I quote, "I want him being the co-writer, to have his own proper announcement, so I'm going to wait until that comes out. But we're very far we're finishing the treatment basically, which is pretty big, so it ends up being like where you're fairly close to a screen, a well-along screenplay by the time I'm done with the treatment in my process. So yeah, we've been working on it for a while. It's going great. I'm super excited about it." So yeah, we have no idea who this co-writer is yet, but it sounds like that they're really far along in the process, and it doesn't start filming until next year, so that's good. So if they need to do any rewrites or, anything doesn't mesh well with the way that Lucasfilm Story Group wants their universe to function, they have plenty of time to make corrections. But yeah, it's exciting. I think Rogue Squadron is the film I'm probably most excited for right now. Despite Wonder Woman's many failings, I wasn't a fan of that. Some people were, some people weren't. But yeah, it sounds like, we're getting some good progress here.
Yeah, let's reiterate. Wonder Woman 84, I assume, is the one you're talking about, not Wonder Woman.
Yes. To be clear, I loved the first Wonder Woman film that she directed. I was not a fan of the second one.
I was going to say this is interesting timing, given that the backlash from Wonder Woman 84 is still happening. And that they released this let's forget about that movie and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that my excitement for Rogue Squadron is diminished. It's definitely taken a little bit of a hit because Wonder Woman 1984 is just a 2.5 hour mess of a movie that could have been an hour and 20 minutes. So hopefully this movie has some editors, some harsh editors. But I think what people forget is she's still yes, Wonder Woman 1984 was not great. Dare I say it was poor. But that means like, okay, cool, but she's still 2 for 3. Like, the first Wonder Woman's still fantastic. Monster is an incredible movie. So I still give her the benefit of the doubt that this Rogue Squadron movie will be awesome, so long as the announced co-writer isn't Chris Terrio.
As long as it's not Jeff Johns.
Johns.
I used to be the biggest Jeff Johns fan, but man, I feel like everything he's touched over the last 5 years has just been really bad.
Could you imagine if they brought in like Jeff Johns or like Joss Whedon?
That's not going to happen. Definitely not going to happen.
No way. It'd be the
but
worst.
I mean, I also think the other thing here and I'm not trying to give her a pass. Obviously, like, this next film will be a big test for her. But with superhero franchises, you have so many different people that are in the conversation around, like, the executive producers, the story group, Warner Brothers, DC, deciding how this film is going to go, how the character is going to impact the rest of their extended universe. And you can say the same thing about, Rogue Squadron here. But obviously, those are two very different groups of people and companies. So, I still think Patty Jenkins is a very talented director and individual within the film community. So I'm still very optimistic about it. Just because you have one bad film doesn't mean, it's the end of the world.
Everything I've seen of hers has been fantastic.
You've not seen Wonder Woman 1984 yet, have you, Jim?
I have not seen Wonder Woman 1984.
You might want to keep it that way.
Yeah, I would say one last thing on the surprise co-writer. What do you guys think about the chances that it might be Kevin Feige? Because I know Kevin Feige they've said he's going to be working a little bit on Star Wars, and I wonder if this is going to be their starting point for the new Star Wars movies. It would kind of make sense. Like, yeah, we'll have Kevin Feige come in to do it since he knows how to establish these universes now. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be fine either way. There's just so many things happening within film and TV right now with Disney and Lucasfilm that there's so many unannounced projects. It could be anything. All right. So our next piece of news here, we talked about I think 2 episodes ago about Jeremy Bulloch's unfortunate passing. Since that, Disney has officially now dedicated the season 2 finale of The Mandalorian to him. They updated the credits so that the finale was dedicated to him. If you're not familiar, he portrayed Boba Fett in The Emperor Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, with voiceover provided by Jason Wingreen, who passed away about 5 years ago now. So yeah, I mean, that was just a small change, but I thought it was a really nice thing for them to do, because that's forever now.
Yeah. It's obviously it's not something like, I know there's like probably some pessimistic people who are like, oh, like they had to change it afterwards, or it's like, well, it's not like they knew when it went into production. So it's a nice little in memoriam from Disney. That sometimes, I think people sometimes lose sight that Disney is still a very wholesome and lovely company. Yeah, it's a really nice thing of them.
So our last bit of news here before we get into the rest of the show is there's been some updates on Star Wars: The Acolyte. So if you're not familiar with this, it was announced during Disney's Investor Day, and it was the series that we really got, I think, the least amount of information on. We know that Russian Doll showrunner Leslie Headland is developing the series, and it's set in the final days of the High Republic, approximately 200 years before the Phantom Menace. And it's a mystery thriller focusing on emerging dark side powers, and that's it. We don't really know anything else about it, but we did get a small update. So it looks like Rain Roberts, Lucasfilm's vice president of film development, who helped develop Rogue One, Solo, Rebels, and a sequel trilogy, is co-developing the series now with Headland. So if you go to her page on lucasfilm.com, you can see that it's been updated to include that information, which is pretty cool. I'm a huge fan of pretty much everything that she's worked on, with the exclusion of like 1 or 2 small things here. But to have a Lucasfilm veteran that is extremely experienced with developing Star Wars projects involved is great.
I'm interested about the Acolyte. I'm interested to see where they take this, especially since it's the quote end of the High Republic time, and so that should tie directly into the movies theoretically, given the time frame that we're looking at everything. So I'm very interested to see where they go with this, and I'm excited about the people that are running it.
Yeah, I think a lot of us have wanted a Sith focused story for a while. So it's cool to see them doing it now. And yeah, bringing in a veteran who has like gotten all these movies off the ground is pretty enticing. And it's the show. It's not necessarily the show I'm most excited for because that goes to Andor, but it's the one I'm probably most intrigued in. I think it's the most interesting idea of everything they announced. So adding more talent to the show is obviously going to make me happier.
I thought you said Endor was the show you were most excited for, and I'm sitting here in my head creating a new Ewoks show, and I'm like, that sounds like my jam.
It's a Sunday morning children's show where it's like Reading Rainbow but with Ewoks.
You haven't actually watched the Ewoks cartoons, have you?
Have not.
I can tell. I have.
You guys,
There's no pain in his voice when he talks about it.
You guys know that I have mad beef with Ewoks, so I have not watched the Ewok cartoon.
Or the Ewoks telemovies? I sense things coming up in our future.
Oh, what did I just... I
don't
just
think
signed...
you're going to be able to convince me to get in on that.
I just signed myself on for the holiday special
Good
again,
luck.
didn't I?
Good luck. But yeah, I am very interested in this. It's going to tie in clearly, I think, to the High Republic Publishing Initiative. I think this is the first series that is confirmed to have ties to that, because if it's 200 years before the Phantom Menace, that's the High Republic. So I think that's the big thing about this project that no one's really talking about, is this is the one like film related tie-in. This is the one and only film related tie-in to the High Republic right now. A new era of Star Wars. Every time we get a new era, usually there's something in film or television that's tied to it, and it looks like this is going to be the very first one that's actually in that era. And what's exciting to me, I talked about, I think when we did the Disney Investor Day episode, how much I would love to see a show devoted to the dark side. I think there's potential for this to include either Darth Plagueis, or if they decide to change things up a little bit, Darth Plagueis' master, or just two Sith we haven't seen before, the rule of two. Like, I'd be really excited to see more lineage added to how we got to Palpatine.
I would hope they would keep Darth Tenebris.
Yeah, man, he was awesome.
He's Plagueis' master, for the blank stare of the co-host on the
Connor. Yeah.
He's
cool.
He was a Bith, right?
Yeah, he was a Bith. And where
Seems insulting.
Plagueis was a moon.
Yeah, so two
a full
aliens that both had very interesting dark side powers. So there's a lot of potential here for really cool stuff. I'm excited about it. All right. So that's our news for the day. So the episode, I guess we should talk more about that now. This episode, we're kind of looking forward in 2021. I meant to say that when I wished everyone a Happy New Year at the start of the show.
We had food to talk about, okay?
Yeah, we had food to talk about. Clearly more important. So we're looking ahead to 2021, and I'm looking at our show notes. And I have something I was thinking about this morning for 2021 that I wanted to talk to my co-hosts about briefly. So this is the first time this conversation is coming up, and it's not on our agenda. Sorry, guys. But I was watching Phantom Menace with the lady last night, and we decided we were going to redo all the films in chronological order, story-wise.
And did you time it so that at the end of Return of the Jedi, the explosion of the Death Star takes place right at midnight of New Year's?
So yesterday was the 2nd, Jim. So anyway, I was watching The Phantom Menace, and something that always irked me, but I never really dove into the conversation before is, Qui-Gon is on Tatooine with Anakin, and Darth Maul attacks, and they barely get away. And clearly, it's either a Sith or someone very well trained in the Jedi arts. And he goes back to Coruscant because he wants Anakin to be tested and trained, and he has to make his report to the Jedi Council. And it just really struck me, and I've thought about this before, but I guess I've never really dug into it with you guys or any other groups, is, he tells them, I think it was a Sith, and the immediate reaction from the Jedi Council is, well, that's impossible. The Sith couldn't have returned without us knowing about it. And then from there, it goes, we have to unravel this mystery. We're sending you back to Tatooine to figure this out. And the two things that struck me about this was, like, these two scenes are like the perfect encapsulation of why the Jedi fail and the Republic falls, because you have this just incredible arrogance from the Jedi Council being like, oh, there's no way that could have happened, we would have known about it. And then, always two there are, the Master and the Apprentice. There's only two, but they know how dangerous and powerful they are. And they send a Padawan in a single night back into, danger to deal with this Sith Lord. Just two. And one of them's not even a full-fledged knight. And that got me thinking, like, it'd be really fun for us to do a series this year where we go through each era of the Skywalker saga and talk about, the biggest themes and moments from all of these films and how they fit the story at large.
Yeah, the whole prequels are about the incredible hubris of the Jedi and how the Jedi needed to die. To quote another Jedi Master, if you will, or misquote. I don't remember the exact quote.
It's close enough. It's time for the Jedi to end. I was going to say, JJ, everything you said, all I was thinking was, I was thinking about The Last Jedi and, like, Luke was right. The
He's
Jedi
totally right.
were so egocentric and so blinded by their own narcissism that they were like, no, this would never happen. We would know. So yes, but no, that sounds awesome. I would any excuse to rewatch all the movies. I would take in stride happily.
Great. Yeah. I think it would, for 2021, I was thinking about fun stuff we could do. And I was like, man, just thinking about digging into, like, these moments from the sequel trilogy, I think would be a lot of fun. So here we are. And it also made me think about a great quote from Dooku on Yoda. And he was saying this to Darth Sidious. And he said, the Jedi Order's problem is Yoda. No being can wield that kind of power for centuries without becoming complacent or at best or corrupt at worst. He has no idea that it's overtaking him. He no longer sees all the little cumulative evils that the Republic tolerates and fosters, from slavery to endless wars, and he never asks, why are we not acting to stop this? Live alongside corruption for too long, and you no longer notice the stench. The Jedi cannot help the slaves of Tatooine, but they can help the slave masters. I just thought that was I've seen this before, but every time I read it, it's just like such a good quote. And Dooku was right. He wasn't right about everything, but in regards to that, I feel like it was a perfect, once again, encapsulation of the problems with the Jedi Order and why they had to pretty much start over.
Where's that from?
Is that from Dooku Jedi Lost?
I think it's from the Book of the Sith. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that's Legends.
I know we're supposed to be...
Oh, it is Legends.
Oh, no. Either way, I know we're supposed to be looking forward to 2021, but one thing I do want to point out is I feel like Dooku is almost like one of the most underused characters from the prequel trilogy. He's such an interesting concept where it's like, yes, he defected from the Jedi to the Sith, but he doesn't feel wholeheartedly evil, you know? And I feel like he could have been, even in the, like, I know he's used in the Clone Wars, but I still feel like he could have been fleshed out more. I don't know.
He is a character that's more, I'd say, righteous. Like, he feels, at least in his own mind, that he's doing the best for the Republic that he can, and he will accomplish those goals however he needs to accomplish them. Hence the going, the best villains are the ones who think they're right.
And I remember most of the time when I watch Attack of the Clones, and he has his introduction, which I think people forget. In Attack of the Clones, Dooku's introduction is like 45 minutes to an hour into the movie. Like, he's the villain of the movie, but it takes forever for him to get introduced. But when he does, it's when he has Obi-Wan hostage, or prisoner, however you want to call it, and he gives his little spiel. And every time I see that, I'm like, he's kind of got a point. Like, I don't necessarily agree with him, but I'm like, you know what? I actually see where he's coming from. So I think he's one of the more interesting villains, and I wish they would explore him more, maybe in a show or book or something sometime this year, tying it back to our topics, or trying to.
God, that was awful.
That was bad. This is why I'm not leading things. This is why JJ does it.
Yeah. So it sounds like my two co-hosts are interested in that. So I don't know what that's going to look like yet, guys. But if you have some feedback or an opinion on it for us that you think would be fun to explore, shoot us an email, talkintauntauns@aiptcomics.com. Either way, I'm going to work on developing something for that, for us to, do an episode on each of the trilogies. I think it would be a lot of fun. So we'll see what comes from that. But looking ahead at 2021, so we kind of already dug into this very recently, but we have the Book of Boba Fett coming in December. I don't think there's a ton to say about that, but Jim is telling me there are 11 movies.
There are 11 movies in 12 months. We could do one movie a month.
Yeah.
I'm into it.
Yeah, that could be fun. We could at least have one episode a month about a film, and then go back to our regular episodes. I'd be down with that.
And the Rogue One episode is 3 hours long, because I could talk about that movie endlessly.
I think we'll stick with an hour, but maybe you can release some supplemental material for people to get from you directly.
Some TED Talks released exclusively to my Twitter.
So I think we also talked about the Bad Batch. We don't know when that's coming.
It's sometime in 2021. If they follow the Clone Wars release schedule, Clone Wars was started in February of last year. Kind of ran through May the 4th. The last episode was in May the 4th. So I'm actually anticipating sometime this summer that they'll release the Bad Batch, because based on the trailer that they released, it looks really close to done.
Yeah, it really does. And that would be amazing.
I am just now realizing in real time that the final season of the Clone Wars was last year, 2020. It feels like that was 5 years ago.
I don't think time comprehension really works well for anyone anymore after the last year.
That is shocking to me that it came out in February of last year. I thought the Bad Batch was going to be like a January, February release. So I'm actually surprised that we don't have a release date yet. Because I assumed we would be watching it within the next couple weeks. But I mean, obviously we're not, because we have no clue when it's coming.
So Jim has had a taste of this already. The High Republic Publishing Initiative starts in 2 days. So in 2 days, we get started with The Light of the Jedi. And
actually, a lot. There's 3 novels coming out on Tuesday. It's
not
just...
that's right. A Test of Courage, The Great Jedi Rescue. So the other 2 are young adults, correct?
So the way Disney works, I do actually talk about this on my reviews a lot, is that they are technically, quote, young adult, but they're really like high teen. kind of the way that they are written, and a lot of them, it's basically just a distinction between publisher. Del Rey publishes the quote adult novels, and then Disney Lucasfilm Press published these young adult books, but they are as good, if not better, than most of the adult books out there. And I would highly recommend like a good chunk of them. Like Lost Stars is generally considered to be one of the best, if not the best, of the new canon stories. And that is a young adult geared book by Claudia Gray. And so like a lot of these books generally I would wholeheartedly go for regardless of where they're published. If they come out in hardback, I usually put them on the same pedestal as the adult books.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure The Great Jedi Rescue is like a children's book, if I'm not mistaken, because I know like the cover says like comes with stickers. So
I'm all for stickers.
Hey, don't get me wrong. I'm not out here poo-pooing stickers. I love me a good sticker. I'm just saying that most books that come with stickers tend to not be for adults.
Its age range is listed 6 to 8.
Yeah.
So still not know where you're going with this.
Yeah, it's 24 pages with stickers. It's for children, and that's fine.
Perfect. We're discussing it next episode.
So you can see on the cover, it's got 3 new Jedi, including a Wookiee, an Ithorian, and a human. And we've also got the Wookiee using one of those new lightsabers with like a very fancy like sword hilt. And the Ithorian has one that looks like the blades could come out the sides, but I don't see that they are. So it might just be a classic hilt as well. But the description is pretty small. We don't know much about it. Meet the noble and wise Jedi of the High Republic when a disaster strikes in hyperspace, putting the people of Hetzel Prime in grave danger. Only the Jedi of the High Republic can save the day. So this is not the only thing coming from Cavan Scott. In addition to his children book coming out this week, he's also got Star Wars The High Republic #1, which I can't wait to get my hands on.
Super excited for this.
So this is the first issue of the comic. So there's the Light of the Jedi through the High Republic, which Jim read already, which delivers to my doorstep on Tuesday, I believe. Let's see, is it Tuesday? Yeah. And then this is running alongside of that. So the High Republic #1. So this is basically, just like the Light of the Jedi, we have Starlight Beacon, a new Padawan, Keeve Trennis. She has to complete her Jedi trials or rescue the innocent from disaster. New Jedi, new ships, new evils to fight. We've got illustrations by Phil Noto, Ario, and Dito. It looks incredible. I can't wait.
So what it seems to me is that the Light of the Jedi, basically, we had talked about it on the show. The first chapter of the Light of the Jedi, which you have this major hyperspace accident, and that is the kicking off point to the entire High Republic series. And that was that one chapter. That's kind of why they released it. And it seems like these other 2 stories, A Test of Courage and even The Great Jedi Rescue and the comic, may also be playing off at the exact same time from different points of view.
It appears that Into the Dark does that as well.
Okay, and that's Claudia Gray's novel that comes out in February.
Yes. It seems, yeah, but I think you're right. They all play off of this cataclysmic event, and how it's affecting the Jedi across the galaxy. But yeah, the comic, listeners of the show know that I am all about the Star Wars comics. And this is one I've been looking forward to for quite some time. And I'm just excited to have a comic that is utterly not focused on anyone we already know. So that's going to be exciting. But really, I'm just, after reading bits and pieces of your review, Jim, I just can't wait to read Light of the Jedi.
Bits and pieces? It's not that long.
But
you really have a problem with sitting down and reading something.
I will not take this slander right now because I got Thrawn a week ago and I only have like 100 pages left. So I am reading, damn it. No, the reason I didn't finish your review is because you say it in your review. You have spoilers. Like, they're minor spoilers, but they're spoilers. So I didn't want to be spoiled. So I read bits and pieces. But I'm most excited for Light of the Jedi. I can't wait to read it. I've heard everyone I know who has had a chance to read it, which is Jim and like 3 people on Twitter, have all said it's fantastic, and it's a great way to kick off this new initiative. But on top of that, you know, Test of Courage looks awesome, and I'm usually guilty of ignoring the young adult books. And I now, after hearing you talk, Jim, I feel like I shouldn't. But yeah, it's my only worry is like, how am I gonna read all these books before the next ones come out?
I've literally read almost every single Star Wars book, and I'm still stuck in the middle of last year trying to catch up. I had to skip books to get to a Light of the Jedi.
So the good thing here is that these aren't super long. The Light of the Jedi is 400 pages. A Test of Courage is 240. So I don't think it'll be too hard to keep up with this stuff. And you know, the comic is a monthly release it's the only comic at this time. We don't have Into the Dark releasing until February 2nd. That is Claudia Gray's novel. It's about a different Padawan than we see in the comic and Charles Soule's book. So this one is Padawan Reith Silas is being sent from the Cosmopolitan Galactic Capital, God, I'm having trouble talking today, of Coruscant to the undeveloped frontier, and he couldn't be less happy about it. He'd rather stay at the Jedi Temple studying the archives, but when the ship he's traveling on is knocked out of hyperspace in a galactic-wide disaster, Jim, I think you're right on the money. This is all happening parallel. Reith finds himself at the center of their action. The Jedi and their traveling companions find refuge on what appears to be an abandoned space station, but then strange things start happening, leading to the Jedi to investigate the truth behind the mysterious station, a truth that could end in tragedy. So, yeah.
I am crazy excited for this book. This book sounds so interesting. Like, I've always thought you could do some really awesome, like, horror adjacent Star Wars stuff, and having a Jedi Padawan exploring a abandoned station in the middle of the galaxy to find mysterious thing happening, that sounds awesome. Like, I can't, like, when I read the synopsis for this, I was like, yeah, I think I'm most excited for this out of all the High Republic stuff.
Claudia Gray doesn't miss. So far, she's come out with, this is her 4th book off the top of my head in Star Wars canon, including, like I said, Lost Stars, Master and Apprentice, and Bloodlines, and all of them have been absolutely fantastic. So I definitely, I'm definitely looking forward to it. She's a fantastic writer and a great new canon stalwart that we're getting.
Yeah, Master and Apprentice is the last thing that I read from her, and it was fantastic. It gave, I think, the most in-depth look we've had at the relationship between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan.
At least in canon, it has. They kind of supplemented an entire book series from Legends, but that's more of the younger leaning books, chapter books, if you will, where this is the first time we got in a quote adult look at Obi-Wan and not that kind of adult, Connor.
It's a good thing this is a audio format.
Yeah, but I love Claudia Gray's work. As Jim said, I've been super impressed by it, and the horror element, as Connor said, is very exciting as well. So I can't wait for this. They are a little close together, but with Light of the Jedi only being 400 pages, I don't think this is going to be too hard of a pace to deal with.
That's the difference between JJ and I and how much we read. He sees 400 pages and he goes, oh, cool, that's not very long. I see 400 pages and I go, oh, God, that's like a month of reading for me.
All right, so we talked about The Light of the Jedi. That's coming out on January 5th. Jim read it, gave it an 8 out of 10, so it's pretty good. I can't wait to read it, and I know I've mentioned this on other episodes, but I just want to throw it out there again before we keep going down this High Republic publishing initiative list. We do have a book club, a Star Wars book club. So if you're interested in Star Wars comics or books, those are some of the things that we're going to be talking about. We're starting off with The Light of the Jedi. You can sign up and join our book club through our Patreon. It's only $2, and all that money goes straight into the hands of our writers. You'll be supporting AIPT and everyone that contributes there, and you'll get to hang out with Star Wars fans on Discord, as well as in our we're hoping it to be a at least every 4 to 5 weeks, and we're going to be doing hopefully all of the High Republic publishing initiative, as long as folks are happy with that. Depending on how it goes, we might throw in some Legends books. I don't know, but this is what we're starting with. We're going to, of course, talk about the book. There's going to be trivia, prizes. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you'd like to join, as I said, it's through our Patreon. You can find more about that at aiptcomics.com, and it's only $2 a month. All right.
Also, we'll probably miss this on release date, as the show will be released on the 5th. But yesterday, as you're listening to this, was a High Republic live stream event on January 4th at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And so I hope you enjoyed that, because you're not getting the show before then.
I know I did, because it's coming out on Wednesday or Tuesday, and we're in the future. Yeah, I enjoyed the live stream. I'm so glad that insert author name appeared to talk about their book.
All right, so moving on, we have A Test of Courage, which we briefly mentioned. So again, it talks about the hyperspace galaxy-wide disaster, and then another new Jedi Knight and Padawan, who's described as an audacious tech kid and the son of an ambassador. They're stranded on a jungle moon, have to survive the dangerous terrain, as well as some danger lurking in the shadows. So this is for 8 to 12 range. It's 240 pages, and it's from Justina Ireland, who's another fantastic writer who has she did Lando's Luck with Flight of the Falcon, Spark of the Resistance, and some other stuff, I believe.
I enjoyed Spark of the Resistance. I also liked Lando's Luck. She's generally a younger writer. Spark of the Resistance is a pretty short book. Takes place between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, and it was just like a fun adventure with Rey. Like it had almost no setup because it was such a short book, and it was just get immediately into the action sort of thing. And it's not like super in depth because it's meant to be more of a kid's book, but it was just a fun book. And anytime we can get more Lando, I'm all in favor of more Lando.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes,
and
sir.
That Lando was Millennium Falcon Lando with L3, and I love me some L3.
L3 is one of the good ones. I hope so dearly that the upcoming Lando series manages to land. Help me out here, guys. I'm blanking.
Donald Glover. Phoebe Waller-Bridges.
Donald Glover, yes. If he's not in it, it's just, I don't know if I'll be as inclined to watch. Of course I will. I'm kidding.
That's like okay.
Yeah,
Like,
of course I will. But he's just like the perfect Lando outside of Billy D himself, and I would be shocked if it's Billy D. So, moving on. We talked about Into the Dark. We talked about the comic. Oh, there's another comic, The High Republic Adventures.
Yeah, that's the one by Daniel Jose Older, who I haven't seen any comics from him. He wrote the Lando Han novel Last Shot, which was also that was a lot of fun. So I'd be interested to see where he takes the comics from here.
Yeah, and this is through IDW, whereas the other issues are through Marvel.
Marvel, yeah.
Yep. So this is another new ongoing series, though, and this is starting in February. So the High Republic #1 comes out on January 6th. So we're recording on Sunday. So yeah, this will drop on Tuesday. So the next day you'll be able to get your hands on it. And the artist on this is Harvey Tolibau. I don't believe I'm familiar with their work. But yeah, it says a new ongoing series. Centuries before the adventures of Luke, Leia, Han, and Chewbacca, the Jedi stand as guardians of galactic peace until a powerful new adversary called the Nile arrive. So a group of young Padawans training under Master Yoda must protect the Republic while learning the lessons that will one day lead them to become powerful Jedi in their own right. So this is interesting because we knew that they kind of went back on saying we won't see any familiar characters, and they said, yeah, Yoda will be there, but it looks like Yoda's going to actually have like a major role in this book. The cover art's gorgeous on it.
Well, we also have two other movie characters that appear in The Light of the Jedi. Granted, they're background characters, but I would be remiss if I ignored Yariel Poof and Master Rancisis, who is probably one of my favorite characters ever, because he's a giant snake.
You and your love for Yariel Poof.
I love Yariel Poof.
And for those who don't know, Yariel Poof is the Jedi Master on the Council with the extremely long neck and small head, who is also featured in a Robot Chicken skit about how he's the Jedi Master that everybody forgets.
I don't forget him.
I am interested. The IDW Star Wars adventure books are usually they're usually geared towards young adults, which is a reoccurring theme this episode, and they're usually more anthology aimed, like maybe like 1 or 2 part stories, but usually really self-contained.
I would say less young adults and more tweens.
Yeah. It definitely skews younger for sure. It's noticeably younger. Like most young adult stuff, you don't really notice that it's technically not supposed to be for full-fledged adults. But the IDW comics, you can notice that they're written for a younger audience. But I do like the anthology approach to some High Republic stories, and I wonder if that's the route they're going to take, like they do with the other IDW stories. So I'm interested in this.
All right, and last but not least, we have another Kevin Scott contribution. So he's all over the place here.
Yeah, I found that interesting. I didn't realize he was slated to write a novel in the High Republic series, and this is the only book that we get listed out past February, as far as I'm aware. They kind of jumped to this next book, so I don't know if this is actually the next book that's being released or just the next one they have announced.
I'm not sure. It's July 6th, 2021. And this is, right off the bat, they tell you it's an adult novel. The cover art on this one just looks very menacing. It's also fantastic. It looks incredible. Joseph Meehan has done, I believe, the cover art for all of the novels, the adult novels, I should say. And it's gorgeous. It looks really nice. We have 3 Jedi Knight on the cover, with, it looks like, I'm guessing, 3 Nile facing them down. And let's see, what do they tell us about this?
Well, I know one of the Jedis is a lightsaber for hire, Ty Yorick, which I think is super rad.
Yeah, that's very cool. It kind of completely goes against like the tenets of the Order, so I'm really curious to see how that works. But they tell us that this is the Rising Storm sees the Nile taking their reign of terror to the next level, building on their appearances in the Light of Jedi and beyond. Standing in their way this time are newly elevated Jedi Council members Stellan Gios, along with Padawan Bell Zettifar, and an intriguing new character, the Saber for Hire, Ty Yorick.
Oh, that's Bell Zettifar is one of the main characters in The Light of the Jedi.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. So this seems like it is the follow-up to Light of the Jedi. So I assume this is the novel that's kicking off, for lack of a better term, like wave 2 of the High Republic. That's kind of the sense I get from it.
I would say we're still in wave 1, even with this.
You think?
I would say so, yeah. I would say wave 1 will probably be the entire year of releases.
Awesome.
based on how if they use the new Jedi Order kind of as a template, which is no guarantee, but that's kind of similar to how they're dealing with this so far. A round table of writers and stuff is that they would do based on years. So every year was a new year in the new Jedi Order, whereas I see that kind of here would be every year is a new wave of this thing.
All right, guys. So that is the batch of High Republic Publishing Initiative's first wave: The Light of the Jedi, A Test of Courage, The Great Jedi Rescue, Into the Dark, The High Republic Adventures, and The Rising Storm. So there's a lot of stuff. As I said, you can enjoy most of that with us in our book club if you'd like to. And of course, we'll also just be talking about it on the show each week as these come out. So don't worry, you'll still get to hear us tell you all about these projects, whether or not you're involved in the book club. So no pressure there. So there's also 4 books coming out this year that have really nothing to do with the High Republic whatsoever. So we're getting the 3rd Alphabet Squadron book, Victory's Price. So that started off with Alphabet Squadron by Alexander Freed. It ran in tandem with a comic book, TIE Squadron by, I believe it was Jody.
TIE Fighter, and it wasn't in tandem. TIE Fighter was by far a prequel to it. It was kind of a misleading tie together.
Yeah, that they just also unceremoniously gave up on. Like, they kept releasing the novels.
I noticed that, too.
Gave up, which I'm kind of bummed about, because first of all, I finally bought the first book, now that the 3rd book got announced. So I'll be reading that soon. But, yeah, I was actually kind of bummed. I liked the comic, and I was really looking forward to more of the comic, but they
I did, too.
Sort of abandoned it.
Jody Hauser is the one who wrote it, and she's kind of like the adaptations queen. She's done adaptations for like everything. She's done Stranger Things and like countless other big IPs out there. But yeah, Alphabet Squadron's great. It gives you a look at a squadron of different classic Rebel Alliance and New Republic ships. And there's some really interesting dynamics between the pilots. And they're kind of going to war with this infamous, it's the Shadow Squadron, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The book 2 is Shadowfall. And I literally just started that yesterday. And it seems to take place parallel to Squadron's video game.
Oh, I like that.
Vanguard Squadron, which is the good guys in Squadron, the story mode of Squadron's video game, gets mentioned actually quite frequently. I'm barely an hour into the audiobook, and they've been mentioned at least like 4 times.
Well, Alphabet Squadron is name dropped in Squadrons, I want to say like 2 or 3 times, so that makes sense.
All right. So from there we have, let's see what's next on our list. Oh, there's the Young Reader's book for The Mandalorian, A Clan of 2, I believe, and Allies and Enemies.
My favorite about this is we talked about it when we had Holly on, and we did that the reading because they had a whole slate of The Mandalorian publishing coming out. And I included this because it's the book by Joe Schreiber, best known for horror novels in the Star Wars universe. And this is the junior novelization of The Mandalorian.
Oh, yeah, Red Harvest, which I have on my
and
shelf
Death
behind
Troopers.
me, thanks to you.
Yep, and Death Troopers. And so it'll be an interesting take on how the child starts eating random brains and creatures out of eggs. And actually, this is a horror novel. You just take it from the child's perspective or the animals he's trying to eat.
He craves flesh.
All right. So moving right along here, we have the second book in the Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy. So the first one, I think, got delayed like twice.
No,
I'm pretty sure it did.
I have it here.
Yeah, it was supposed to release in May this year, but it didn't come out until September, right?
Oh no, it's not. It's not that. Well, I guess it did get delayed, but it wasn't due to COVID, as far as I'm aware. It just they changed the release date, but they never said why.
Oh, okay.
And it seemed more of a not the book's not done. It's a this is a better time for the book to be released, for publishing reasons.
For reasons.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this, but I got the audiobook of Thrawn Ascendancy to read for a road or listen to for a road trip. And while I found the story very interesting, I could not do the actual reading of it. Because like I think I mentioned it, but like the narrator, who does a great job doing Thrawn and doing the exposition and everything, he does the voice of a like 12-year-old child, and it's just incredibly grating, and I couldn't get through it. So I'm going to, first of all, I'm currently reading the original Thrawn trilogy and loving it.
Well, hold on.
No, wait, yeah. Do not use words like original if you're not actually reading the original.
Sorry. The first canon Thrawn trilogy.
There you go.
I don't mean Heir to the Empire. You guys know I'm talking about canon when I say these things.
Hey, we just gotta specify it for folks listening, because there's a lot of Thrawn books out there now.
That's funny. I had a friend ask me, he's like, should I read the Thrawn book? I'm like, do you mean Star Wars Thrawn, or do you mean Heir to the Empire? Because you gotta choose wisely. And he was like, well, which one's better? I'm like, yeah, just read both of them. Like, they're both very good.
Well, then you get into a whole trilogy, and Star Wars, the Empire, or the Heir to the Empire trilogy leads into the Thrawn duology, which also then ties into the Legends Outbound Flight and all the other ones that Zahn has written. So really, you just look up Zahn's list of books, and it is prolific.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm absolutely loving Thrawn. I can barely put it down. I don't know if I've ever read a book this fast. Like, I'll probably finish it in under 2 weeks, which for me is like lightning fast because I'm a very slow reader. So I'm really excited to get it back into Ascendancy and then get to book 2 when it comes out, because the history of the Chiss and the Chiss culture is something we don't really get much of outside of the Ascendancy books and outside of Zahn's writing. So I'm really excited for Ascendancy to continue and see more into the backstory of Thrawn before he made his way to known space.
Yeah, so the first Thrawn series that's actually in canon now was released in 2017. There's 3 books there. It's fantastic. It tells you about Thrawn's rise through the Empire. We see him in Star Wars Rebels and how he's a Grand Admiral. And the books tell you how he gets there, and they're fantastic. So as Connor said, this is a prequel trilogy that started in September of this year with Thrawn Ascendancy. And it's called Thrawn Ascendancy because the Chiss are known as their governing body is the Chiss Ascendancy. So we see a good amount about the Chiss in Legends. There was a lot of them with the original Thrawn trilogy, which is, back many, many years ago. We also saw a good amount of them in the New Jedi Order series, but none of that's canon anymore. So this is the first close look at the Chiss Society. And the second book is coming out April 27th this year. So you can pre-order it now. And as I said, and Connor and Jim, all of us will echo this. Timothy Zahn's writing is fantastic, and you really don't want to miss these. It's a close look at one of what I think is the most interesting characters in Star Wars.
So for me, Zahn, like I know some people kind of have highs and lows. Zahn, for me, is kind of a steady writer. That if you like Zahn's work, you generally like most of his work. If you don't like his work, you're probably not going to like any of his work because it's very consistent the way he writes. The one thing I actually had hoped that they would do at some point would be a TV show version of his one of his last Legends books. Which is called Scoundrels. It's basically a heist book with Han and Lando playing Ocean's 11 in the Star Wars universe. And I had that seems like still such a perfect a book to be brought into like a TV movie sort of thing.
Hey, we can hope with the Lando series, right?
I would definitely, I'd be all in favor for it.
But in terms of Zahn, I actually really like his writing style. But if you are the type of reader who needs your author to really paint the surroundings of the scene and really paint the environment and the visuals, you might not like Zahn. That's why I do like Zahn, is he doesn't bog you down in details you don't need to know, and I appreciate that. But like you have to, in order to really visualize what's happening in his books, I've noticed like you kind of have to already know what Star Wars looks like, or you'll have no idea what things look like. So, it depends on, like you said, it depends on the individual reader. I tend to like that about Zahn. I think it makes the books a lot easier to read, and it probably explains why I've been able to get through this one faster.
All right. So last but not least, before we get out of here, one more thing you have to look forward this year in Star Wars books is The Mandalorian, an original novel by Adam Christopher. So like Thrawn, this was not delayed, it was rescheduled. So it got pushed back to the fall of 2021. People are saying November. There's quite a few things going on here. I got one of them for Christmas, The Art of the Mandalorian Season 1. I have that on my shelf. There's also the Ultimate Visual Guide from DK. As always, from DK, Pablo Hidalgo is actually doing that one. There's The Mandalorian, Allies and Enemies. That's a kid's book. Level 2 reader. There's The Mandalorian 8x8 storybook, which is also for children. And then
that's young adult. Young adult 8x8.
Okay.
And it's a board book.
The Mandalorian Junior novelization, which Jim already mentioned, I believe. Yeah, so there's a lot of Mandalorian stuff.
Shocking.
As to be expected with the success of the show, that has actually taken us into almost 3 years after the show came out to actually get any books related to the show.
Well, and we're supposed to be getting, much like the High Republic, there's supposed to be a Marvel comic series around the Mandalorian and an IDW comic series around the Mandalorian as well. But like literally no information has come out about those. And we don't know who's writing them, who's drawing them. We don't even know when they're coming out. So really what's most surprising to me is not that we're getting all this Mandalorian books and comics and stuff, is that it took this long. I thought we would have gotten those last year. But it's exciting nonetheless. New Mando content is always going to be welcomed here.
All right, guys. So yeah, we were going to talk about comics this week, but we just didn't have enough time going over all the content that's coming out this year. There's a lot of books for kids, young adults. There's just a ton of stuff. So we just didn't have time. But next episode, we will be talking Bounty Hunters number 8, as well as the 2 new... Oh, no, excuse me, not 2, because one's in February, but the new High Republic comic. And I believe there's a new Dr. Aphra issue that's coming out this week as well. So we'll definitely be talking new comics next week, I promise. So be there for that. And we might even have a special guest. I don't know yet. We're still working on it, but if we do, I think you're going to really enjoy it. It's somebody whose work I'm a huge fan of, and I'm really excited. So I'm doing my best to get him on the show. So hopefully next week that'll be what we're giving to you. So thanks for listening, guys. As always, we really appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed the show. We enjoy recording it a lot. I look forward to this every week. If you'd like to support us, you can do so through Patreon, AIPTcomics.com. You'll find the information there. All the money goes to our writers, 100% of it. And we appreciate it a lot. It's also very helpful to the show if you can leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and, share it with your friends. If you have Star Wars friends or family, fans of the franchise, please share our show. And you can also find us on AIPTcomics.com, where we're writing about Star Wars all the time. And there's plenty of other stuff there if you're a nerd like us. So thanks for hanging out with us today, guys. We hope you have a good day, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, you kill.